Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at installing Curt Trailer Wiring Harness on a 2021 Toyota Venza. So this is what our 4-pole trailer wiring is going to look like when it's installed. And the great part about this is it lives inside of the vehicle when you're not using it. So it's when you need to tow, it's really easy. You're going to be able to just pull up your floor mat here or your trunk mat, and it's just going to live where the spare tire is. So when not in use, you can store it here. It's out of sight, it's not going to get in the way of things. And also storing inside is going to be great too, because it's going to keep some dirt and grime and buildup from just living outside the vehicle from accumulating inside of it. So when you are ready to tow, you'll simply just drape this over our weather stripping, just avoid the latch here, and you're able to close this down as the weather stripping has enough cushion to absorb this. So now we can simply hook up to our trailer and have our light functions on there. Speaking of light functions, this is going to allow you to send light signals to your trailer, which include your running lights, your left turn signal, your right turn signal, as well as your brakes. So that's going to keep you safe and legal throughout the 50 states. And it's also just going to let people behind you know what you're actually doing while towing, and it's going to hopefully avoid any accidents. So this is a required thing when you are towing a larger trailer. Now the great part about this wiring kit is the fact that it is module protected. So that way, if you have any shorts that go on in your electrical system, it's not going to affect your factory lights. And going along with that, it actually uses OEM style clips that just kind of piggyback between them. So it really is just plug and play. Now you are going to have to pull some panels back to access those plugs, but overall it's not bad. And you'll be running a wire through a grommet. So it's not too terribly hard to do, and I'm going to walk you through all of these steps to make sure that you can get it done on your Venza. To begin our installation, we're going to start off by opening our rear hatch, as a lot of this will be tucked away in the plastics in the actual interior compartment. So once this is open, we're going to go ahead, we're going to pull out our spare tire, at least our cover here, as well as we'll lift out our We're going to lift up our carpeted cover as well, and this can actually come out. It's just going to gain us a little bit more space while working in here. Now on our passenger side, we're going to go ahead, we're going to take off this trim panel, and it should just kind of pop up here, just like that. And then we're also going to remove this portion here, and the battery should be located. So let's go ahead and get this popped out. And just lifting up there is a handhold. Just kind of work your way up, making sure you're not putting too much stress on the plastic. And as you can see, that exposes our battery. So the battery is now exposed. We're going to be running our power here, but we're also going to be running wires over to our driver's side, and part of those wires are going to be hidden underneath this scuff panel. So we're going to pull this up. Now, you should be able to just kind of get this by pulling straight up here. Just be patient with it and kind of work your way to the middle. Let's see if we can try the other side. So as I reached up, I can kind of get my fingers under this little 90, and I was able to pull up. So now I got this section here. I'm going to just work my way down. We're going to find the rest of the clips. Don't pry too hard at an angle. Just kind of go along, putting pressure where you think the clips are, and then we'll slowly get it all undone. There we are. Next thing we're going to look for is right here where our cargo carrier or cover kind of goes. You're going to look for that spot, and you're going to see this little push button right here. So we'll go ahead with the flathead screwdriver and just kind of pry up. There's a slot there. We should be able to get these to pop out. There we go. And it kind of went one go. A lot of times the way these work is this top portion will pop out, and then you should get the other part out. This one was a little bit tricky, so just be patient with it. Another tool that works really well for these is going to be a trim panel removal tool, and I'll show you how that works. So with the trim panel removal tool, you'll see you're able to actually kind of get in that spot pretty easily because it has that forked edge, and a lot of times you're able to kind of go at an angle and pry it out. This is a tight little spot though. So again, just take your time, be patient. Okay, we got that top portion bumped out here, and I can use this to just kind of pry it all out. And now set these aside. We're going to need them for reinstallation, so make sure you hold on to these. So now we're going to be peeling this plastic back just a little bit. We're gonna wanna open this up. That way we can gain access to our taillight wiring. So I'm gonna kind of reach under here and see if I can't start that wedge going up with my fingers here, just finding those clips as I work my way up. There we are. Now if you need to move your toolkit just to kind of be able to move this a little bit more, feel free to do that. So as we peel this back, you're gonna see the white clip here, kind of tucked up. There's gonna be a tab on the top there. You should be able to push that down. It's kind of hard for me to get my fingers in there, but putting a little bit of pressure should allow this to get unhooked. It's a pretty tight fit in that harness area. There we go. And then once that comes out, you're gonna see a clip like this. Now, once you grab your wiring harness, you're gonna see there should be one that's identical to the actual part that it feeds into. So let's get that and take a look. So grabbing our wire harness, you're gonna see this is just a T connector, and the way that it works is this is gonna go where our plug is that we just removed. You can see it is identical to that. It's a similar OEM design, and that other portion is gonna clip in here. So that's just gonna kind of jump that connection. So we'll just feed this one in first. Make sure it clips in place so you know it's locked. And then your other portion, we'll just make sure that that is attached as well. So now we're going to go on our passenger side and do the same process as pulling this plastic back to gain access to the other plug. So now you're going to be looking for a grommet that's on the floorboard behind this plastic. Now it's kind of hard to see. You're going to kind of reach back. There should be a wire passing through it. Just kind of reach back. If you have the factory subwoofer and feel on the ground, you're going to feel that rubber. We're going to go ahead. We can pull that up as we're going to route our other part of our wiring harness through that. So you can kind of see the orientation I'm in here, and I'm just going to put my fingers kind of underneath that grommet, and it should peel up. And that's going to expose the hole for us to pass this through. So go ahead, you can take these and pass it through. And on the underside, we are going to have to trim just a little bit because these wires are going to be going through there, but I think it's going to be a little bit easier to make the trim on that grommet while we're underneath the vehicle. So it was obviously hard to show you guys this grommet because it is tucked away, but I was able to pull it through this side. Now here's the clips that I passed through. So while we're down here, what I'm going to do, so making sure you don't cut this wire here, you're going to find a nice open spot here, and I'm just going to make a little X pattern. And from here, we can actually pass our plugs through the grommet one by one. We may have to cut it a little bit wider to get these through, but we should be able to feed them through decently under here. So now that I've got those passed through, I'm going to just pull a little bit of slack, and you may need to move the module up top just to kind of give you that little bit of extra slack. Now these are going to plug in to a factory plug that we have right here. And this little guy, we should be able to attach it pretty quick here. There's a clip that we just push on, and that pops out. So you should see that these are going to match up to that, so just plug in. Make sure you hear that snap, and put this on the other side. With the plugs plugged in underneath, you're not going to have a ton of wiggle room with that module, so instead of mounting it up, just to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to attach my power wire now. Now you can see there is this black wire that's already been stripped coming off the module, so we're going to attach this added bunch of wires here that came in our kit with a butt connector that was also supplied. So let's go ahead and we'll strip one end of this. Now we can put it on our module side. Now once that's clipped together with our butt connector, this is actually going to run over to our battery eventually, so you can actually take this loom and just kind of get this out of the way, just kind of unravel it, and we'll just set it here for now. Now, the other wire that you're going to see coming off that module is going to be our ground wire, and you'll see that it has a ring terminal already attached, which is really nice. And really, we just need to find a spot that is bare metal, that doesn't have anything behind it. So looking around, I mean, seems like a pretty easy spot. I know my clip goes here, so I think if I put it right here, it's hollow behind there, we should be able to just self-tap this in. So finding a flat spot is going to be helpful. That way it's not walking around on you as you're trying to self-tap this in. So I'm gonna, right up here, we have a flat surface. This should make it a little bit easier. And I just cinched that tight enough. You can see my ring terminal is able to still move. I'm gonna just bump it one more time here. Now that's not moving, and we should be good. So now at this point, we need to mount our module, and it does come with a double-sided tape in the kit. Now you want to find a nice flat spot where it's not going to move. There's also a hole here on the module that you can use for a self-tapper, or you can even run a zip tie just to hold it in place. Something to consider here, we do have our subwoofer, and we have some wires that are around it, so we're also going to want to zip tie those up. That way that you're not going to have any rattling when the bass is actually going during the music. So we'll go through, we'll get this mounted up on the flat spot, and I'll show you that, and I'll also clean up my wires. Now with everything cleaned up, you can kind of see how we routed things. I've actually had our plugs that go up. I've zip tied them here to this little ring, and that way it's going to stay away from the subwoofer. I don't want these rattling around when this is moving. And we put our module here, and that's going to give us enough, at least play for our plugs on the bottom. And then we have our 4-pole running out, which we'll need. We have our power wire. I've also going to run that over to our other side, and our ground wire I've attached to this mounting point here on the chassis. So looking at it all, this should clear pretty easily. It's going to be tucked out of the way. Now we need to make sure also that our grommet is put back in place, so go ahead and do that. Now our 4-pole here is going to we're going to tuck this outside of the plastic, and this is basically just going to kind of live here, and that way when you're ready to tow your trailer, you can simply pull this out, and this will be able to drape over our weather stripping here. Now, and you can see that has enough squish to where it's not going to damage the wires, but you'll be able to tuck this back when you're not using it, and it'll be out of sight. Now our other wire here, which is going to be a power wire, we're going to route it along this scuff panel area, as that's going to get it to the other side where our battery is and keep it nice and tucked away and clean. So I'm going to just route this, and you can use zip ties if you can get it to attach, but really if you just kind of route it along here, you're just going to want to avoid the holes where those clips actually go, and this should just kind of sandwich in there pretty easily, and it's going to stay out of sight. Now once we get to this portion, you're going to see we pulled our panel here. Run your bundle over, and that's going to keep that tucked in there as well, and then we'll be able to make our electrical connection. You are going to want to avoid the latch, so make sure you run that in a position where it's also not going to get in contact with that. So now we have our power wire. We have tons of extra here. So I'm going to just kind of mock run this to our positive here. And we are going to be adding a fuse holder that's going to give us a little bit more length. So I can actually go ahead and make this cut to get the rest of this bundle out of our way. So now we're going to just strip off one end here. And it's kind of nice in the kit. They've already actually pre-strip these for you. They have just this little cap here, but you can peel this off just like that, and that way it's going to be exposed. So we're going to make the connection here with the included butt connector. Now with your electrical connections, I always try to make sure to give them just a little tug to make sure that they're not going to fall out and that my crimps are done properly. Now you'll see that the fuse is not in here. Keep it that way until we're actually hooked up to power, and in order to hook up to power, we're going to need to attach our ring terminal that was also supplied in the kit to this end. Now our ring terminal is going to attach to a post on our positive battery post. So to get this off, you're going to pinch on these two sides, and it should wiggle out. To make it a little bit easier, you can actually kind of tilt this one back, and it seems like it has a little less bite to be able to pull that up. And that is going to expose our 12 millimeter nut there. So we'll go ahead and we'll take that off. And now we can route our wire over to that to where it's going to be kind of out of the way. I think kind of like this should work. We'll put our flat spot down here on the positive post, and then we can tighten this back up. Now if you push your wire down a little bit, that's actually going to allow you to still be able to close this up, which is pretty nice. So now we'll grab our fuse that was included in the kit and place it in a fuse holder. Make sure you cap it up once it's in place. And with the rest of this wire, we can actually tuck this by zip tying it up just to kind of be out of the way of the battery. Just find a clean route that gets this out of the way. Now, before we put everything back together, we're actually going to test this using a 4-pole tester. Now, these are a great tool because you don't have to hook up to your trailer. It's going to keep this vehicle specific. Now, if you don't have one of these, we have these at eTrailer, and they're a nice tool to have. But if you need to check right away, you can hook up to your trailer and check the lights. The only difference is, again, if you have any wiring problems on your trailer, it might give you a false signal, so this actually keeps it specific to the vehicle. So with this plugged in, I'm going to run it through the light cycles and make sure everything's working. So now running through our light cycle, we're going to start with our running lights. Next, we're going to do our left turn signal, our right turn signal, and then finally our brakes. So with everything working properly, the only thing really left to do is get the rest of our interior put back together, make sure that your grommet is put back in place, and then we're ready to hook up to our trailer and get to towing. Now, as far as the slit on the grommet, I'm gonna actually go back with a little black silicone here, and that's just gonna create that seal again where we've passed our wires through. Now, you can use really any kind of RTV style sealant, as coating this up again is gonna just make sure that no water gets through. And once you're coated up, you should be good. And that was a look and installation of the Curt custom trailer wiring harness on a 2021 Toyota Venza. Thanks for watching.